Hello everyone and welcome to the introduction video of what's hopefully going to be a series of Let's Plays. So I recently bought the Halo Master Chief Collection, which includes Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo ODST, Halo Reach, and of course Halo 4. Naturally, there have been many other Halos that have come out, Halo Guardians, Halo 5, or I think it was Halo 5 Guardians, but yeah. Halo Infinite and all that, and Halo this and Halo that, and yada yada yada. But this is I think I'm just going to go with these Halo games in the Master Chief Collection. Of course, the Master Chief Collection includes the anniversary editions of Halo 1 and Halo 2, simply as I'm going to call them. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I envision this sequence of Let's Plays is going to go, what my plans are, what I'm going to do, and how I'm going to go about it. So, first of all, a little bit of a history lesson. Halo was, of course, the original Halo. Combat Evolved was developed by Bungie and published by Microsoft Game Studios in 2001. I recall first playing this game, I think around very late 2001 or maybe 2002 when I got my Xbox for Christmas. Now, mind you, this was the original Xbox, the very first Microsoft game console. Not the 360, not the Xbox One or any of the other stuff. No, the OG, the original gangster Xbox, okay? And I practically played Halo nonstop through my high school years. And I recall that, my friend would come over to my house on the weekends and we'd play co-op on split screen and multiplayer and all that. So yeah, those were the days, right? If you wanted to do multiplayer, you basically had to have a bunch of people come over and you'd be looking at a tiny little portion of the screen on one TV, and that would be you. I did not get Xbox Live. I never played online on Xbox Live, even though we had that back then. Yeah, but that's basically what I did, right? So those are my days playing Halo. Of course, Halo was released not only on the Xbox, but also I think Mac, as well as Windows PC at the time. Although from my understanding, it was a little bit buggy. So I never played the original Combat Evolved on PC. My only real experience with Halo was on the original Xbox. Also, that being said, the original Xbox was my last gaming console that I ever bought. And after that, I transitioned back over to PC gaming. So I don't really have much experience with Halo 3 or any of the further Halo games. Unless maybe I went over to a friend's house and maybe they had a Xbox 360 or whatever, and I would play a little bit on that. But yeah, really my experience with Halo pretty much began with Combat Evolved, the first one, and ended with Halo 2. And I have some minor just fragments of memories of playing a little bit of Halo 3, but I never played the full campaign. Yeah, really, I'm only familiar with 2 games out of this collection, believe it or not. Yeah, even though I was super big into Halo when I was in high school. Anyway, a little bit of a history lesson. Halo was originally conceived as sort of a spiritual successor to Bungie's first-person shooter series Marathon. Following the release of Marathon 2 Durandal in 1995, some ideas were batted around regarding another FPS game. At the time, the team was conceptualizing a vehicular combat game under the project name Giant Bloody War Game. Yes, that's just what they called it. Struggling to implement a physics engine, they switched to creating the RTS game Myth: The Fallen Lords, which was released in 1997. At this point, the idea for a science fiction RTS game, initially to be titled Armor, but then later it was changed to Monkey Nuts. Yes, really. And then because they didn't like that name, they eventually titled it Blam. This idea was conceptualized using the Myth engine, and by mid-1998, the format had eventually switched to a third-person shooter. Bungie artist Paul Russell actually suggested the name Halo, although initially some did not like that name because it sounded kind of religious or alternatively like a woman's shampoo. At this point, the story premise was that a human transport starship crash-landed on a mysterious ring world, and early versions of the Covenant would arrive to loot whatever they could from the world, and a war eventually erupts between them and the humans. Now, unable to match the technologically advanced alien Covenant, the humans have to resort to guerrilla warfare. Those were Bungie's early ideas for the campaign. The early ideas for gameplay involved terrain that reacted and deformed to things like explosions, persistent environmental details like spent shell casings, variable weather patterns, and a big open world, but none of which ultimately made it into the final product. Halo at the time was still a first-person shooter when it debuted at E3 in June of 2000, Microsoft later acquired Bungie on 19 June 2000, and Halo would go on to become an Xbox launch title. As a result of this acquisition, Bungie actually had less than a year to turn what was more or less a loose collection of gameplay elements and plot ideas into a final game. In order to increase player connection, director Jason Jones changed the game into an FPS. In order to meet the deadline, Bungie scrapped all projects in order to focus on Halo's development. The open world and various other gameplay elements and its large scope were narrowed down or scrapped altogether. Also, the character that would become the Master Chief was originally simply called the Cyborg. The prototype sandbox for the AI and the levels eventually became the Silent Cartographer level. Halo was released on 14 November of 2001 and rapidly became a bestseller. It would spawn, of course, the entire Halo franchise. Halo would eventually receive an updated Anniversary Edition developed by 343 Industries, which was released for the Xbox 360 on 15 November 2011. So about 10 years later, and it would later be released on the Xbox One. The PC version would be bundled with the Halo Master Chief Collection, which is what I'm playing right now, and that was released on 3 March of 2020. So that's a little bit about the overall history of Halo Combat Evolved. Okay, so if you've been living under a rock and you don't know who this big giant green guy is, that's not the Hulk, it's the Master Chief. So anyway, here's my general plan on how I'm going to go about tackling these various games. Partly because of nostalgia and also because it's just games that I'm very familiar with, I'm going to actually start with Halo Combat Evolved and then Halo 2. And then I'll move on kind of chronologically from there. Chronologically in terms of game release. Now, why am I doing this? Well, because, like I said, largely because of nostalgia, okay? And I'm going to be doing these first 2 games twice. I'm going to be doing 2 playthroughs of them. First playthrough will be with the original graphics. So I'm just going to change the graphics back to the classic graphics with the original sound effects and all that, the original music. Okay, it's going to be basically as it was when it was first released and as I remember playing it. So that's what it's going to have. I'm also going to do the commentary, post-commentary, just so I can focus on just, hammering out, going through the game, playing it, and then commentating a little bit later in post. It's how I envisioned the game in my memory. It's how it was originally played. And in effect, I kind of want to preserve that sense of history. That will also give me more time to prepare for the second playthrough, which is going to be with the Anniversary Edition, the new graphics, new sound effects, new music, and all that. Okay, and those I'll be doing live commentary on. So that makes sense. And in this respect, I won't be like endlessly, pushing, a button and jumping back and forth between graphical styles like I see a lot of people do. Yeah, it's just the way I'm planning on doing it, okay? So if you prefer one or the other, then you're going to get one or the other, okay? If you prefer the original graphics, then that's what you're going to get. If you prefer the Anniversary Edition, then just watch that playthrough. So that's essentially how I'm going to do those first 2 games, okay? Halo 1 and 2. I guess in some respects, it's not entirely the original classic edition because, it's been updated so it can handle 60 FPS as well as, ultra high definition monitors. Mine's a 4K monitor, so it looks a bit nicer, right? Some things have been updated, right? It can run on modern systems and all that. But, remember, this game is 20 years old, essentially. So if that makes sense, okay, so we're doing Halo 1 Classic and then Halo 1 Anniversary. Then we're going to do Halo 2 Classic, Halo 2 Anniversary. Then I'm thinking we're going to move on to Halo 3. Bungie originally envisioned it as a trilogy, so it was basically going to end with Halo 3. But then, of course, given the popularity of the character and the world and all that, they decided to continue it on. So I think after Halo 3, I'm going to be doing ODST and then Reach, which is also the way they were released. So there's that. And then I'll be going on to Halo 4. So that's my general plan for the sequence of how I'm going to be doing these LPs. Anyway, that's what I have to say. So stay tuned for some Halo Combat Evolved.